We're sitting down as part of our Backstage interview series with Doug Martin, the Chief Brand and Disruptive Growth Officer, the Chief Marketing Officer at General Mills. We're going to talk about some of the biggest topics facing the industry's C-suite and marketing leadership today. Thank you so much for being here, Doug.
David, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. One of the things that we've been talking about, especially with our C-suite community, is CMO tenure.
Yeah.
Some of the more recent statistics that I've seen list it as the average tenure is at its lowest level in about a decade, anywhere between 25 to 40 months, potentially for new CMOs. You come in, you learn the business of the brand, you build out your team, you do your agency reviews, and 18 months have already gone by. What's going on here? What's the source of this, and how can we address it and set CMOs up for success?
Well, first of all, I think there are two big things going on. And I think the first thing that's going on is that the role is changing faster than we in the role are doing a good job of keeping up to date the people who are our key constituents and understanding what we're doing. So one of the things I always talk about is that, we have an amazing CFO at General Mills, and I know that our CEO thinks he's doing a great job because he is, but he's also doing fundamentally the same job that CFOs have been doing for a long time. He's doing it in a modern and an innovative way, but the role that I'm playing is totally different than what it was 15, 20 years ago. So number one, I think we have to make sure that we're keeping our bosses, our boards, our constituents up to date on how we're tackling the business problems that we're tackling, which ties into number two, making sure that people know that we are tackling business problems. I never want to be in the position of, oh, Doug's off doing something that he thinks is cool. I always say that financial questions need financial answers. And when that CFO comes to you and says, hey, there may be $10 million available to spend, what are you going to do with it? Your answer better be a financial answer, because that's what he's looking for. And that has been a challenge. And it's not a simple challenge with an easy solution, but how do we tie back the work we're doing to those business outcomes and the financial metrics that ultimately we're going to get graded on?
So let's build on that for a second, because one of the, directly connected conversations that we're having, especially over the last few years, we've gone from marketing through a pandemic, now potentially to marketing through economic uncertainties. Yep. And for the CMOs in our community, the conversations with the CEO, with the board, managing those conversations and the expectations, especially with people who aren't necessarily familiar with the language that we speak in the marketing industry, becomes that much more important to show marketing is not just a cost center, right? We're a profit driver, can be. So do you have any advice or thoughts on how to navigate those conversations and really demonstrate the impact of what we do?
Well, I think in some ways I'm in a unique position at General Mills because a recession actually encourages people to eat at home more. But everyone has business cycle challenges, and I absolutely will be on the flip side of that. And it can look like a marketing budget is pretty big and easy to cut. And I think what I am trying to reinforce, and again, I'm lucky because General Mills is very much a brand-based company, is helping people to understand that it is an investment in the downturn that is going to build the long-term value of your brands more than anything else. And that taking your foot off the gas can have compounding effects that are quite expensive to overcome in the future. And so again, putting it in those financial terms, like, yes, you could do that right now, but it is actually going to cost you more money in the long term. And we're always going to have to make some choices, and it's never easy. Nothing is as clear as that. But I think that's one of the ways that I've focused on that.
The long-term view, sometimes we forget about that with short-term problems, right? So I appreciate that. Yeah. So let's, the flip side of it, right? There's managing up and navigating those conversations, but then arguably one of the most important jobs of the CMO is building out the team.
Yes.
And we live in a world, and we were just talking about it, the marketing landscape changes every day, right? You were saying before how the challenges that presents and marketing being so different now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. There's so many specialties, new technologies, skill sets that you need to account for. What is your philosophy or approach when it comes to making sure you're getting the right people for the organization that you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think, first of all, this organization is nothing more than the people who build it, right? And so I say whether it's marketing externally to a consumer or talking about our team, we have to start with people at the center of what we do. And I think the first thing was acknowledging that even though it would be super convenient and terrific, we've moved into a world where there's no such thing as a generalist who can know everything that goes into market. It's just too complex. And I think the good news is the complexity is so obvious that people have have seen that. Now the challenge is, how do I create a employment relationship where people feel like they're being developed and built over time and not pigeonholed in a very narrow specialty? And so, General Mills, we tend to have a longer term employment relationship with people. And what we are trying to do is create a situation where, people can post for specific jobs and build out their career by rotating around the company and feel like they're building value. So I think two things I always tell people. Number one, when you're putting your objectives together for the year, you're doing it because you have to hit certain metrics for your job, but you should also be thinking about the value that you're adding to yourself personally, to your own personal resume over the course of the year. Number two, I have to admit that we have some work to do to help people understand, yes, there's all these jobs that you can post for and all these different specialties, but ultimately what is going to be necessary for that next generation of leaders? So I think we have some work to do to help people with that, because people have all the desire in the world to grow, and they do want a little bit of a pathway.
Absolutely. And you could do your best and try to cultivate, right, that those employees and help them grow, help them take that next step. So I love that.
And I would say I would take a learner in any role. People who have that fundamental desire to learn a new skill, get good at something, and then that insatiable curiosity. Curiosity, I think, is the number one thing that we could reward in employees.
That has been the number one answer when I've been asking that question, to all the people in our community. What curiosity, that hunger to learn, with everything that goes on in this business. If you're not constantly learning, right, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So let's, I guess, parlay now into the lightning round. So I've got a few quick questions for you. Beginning of 2023, we're talking about, the whole year, the outlook for the year. There's lots of trends. Mm-hmm. Everybody's trend hunting, trend talking. Is there anything top of mind for you that you're excited about as you look at different industry trends, different marketing trends that, maybe not affecting your work tomorrow, but something that you've got your eye on?
I mean, I think this is something everyone's talking about right now. But for me, we have teams that are very stretched. The world is complex. The jobs are hard. I think this is the year that we figure out how to leverage AI to move some of those lower value tasks off of people's plates and allow them to focus on some of the things that actually they can make a difference, to take advantage of the education that they have, to take advantage of those human qualities. So, I'm not a believer that AI in our industry is going to get rid of people. I'm a believer that AI is going to unleash people. And it's been on the horizon for a long time, but it feels like this is the year that that's coming.
Definitely, right? Within the last few months, the chat GPTs
oh my God,
and
it's
the
amazing.
Dollies, right?
The Dolly 2 and... Yeah.
Exactly, right? And hopefully that's what it does, is it doesn't replace, but it enables.
Yeah.
So I love that. So you already beat me to it. So from the buzzword bingo game, you leave these doors here in Las Vegas, and there's two topics that are on everybody's mind. AI was one of them. The other is the metaverse.
Yeah.
So I'd love your thoughts. Obviously, there's been a lot of experimentation, a lot of splashy PR, buzzy experimentation going on. Long term, when it comes to Web3 and the metaverse, where do you see the potential applications, if there are applications, for our industry?
Yeah, I think Web3 is happening. And I think for me in my role today, that's the thing that is not going to be critical for next quarter's results. But what I do really believe is that we as brand builders and brand marketers need to engage with people around their passions, where they are engaging in those passions, and can we show up in an unobtrusive, value-added way? So I absolutely think that is coming. And I think that right now we need to continue to experiment to make sure that we're understanding where the lay of the land is. But I think, some of the scale of these communities, quite frankly, is just not there yet. But I have no doubt it's coming. And so then the big question is going to be, when do you want to jump in with 2 feet? And I don't know how I'm going to answer that question, but I think it's something that we'll be really closely watching.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Doug. Thank you for sharing with me and with our community. We appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll have you back again soon.
I'd love it. Thank you, David.
All right. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it.